Okay, welcome everyone. We are going to be discussing the halachot of building a sukkah, and more specifically about the halachot of schach, regarding sukkot. Some very relevant details, and some of them the poskim, the Moroccan poskim spoke about, and some of them we're going to elaborate a little bit more. But first of all, it's interesting to note that the poskim bring that that in Morocco they used to have four edim around the sukkah. They used to put these four palm branches on every single corner of the sukkah to make like edim, like there are witnesses around the sukkah. Now, um,
Witnesses of what?
edim, just like that shiatzanu mehar Sinai, that are the Shekhinah is with us. They used to put four corners around the sukkah. I'm still looking into exactly what exactly the reasons. I saw different people bring different reasons, but I'd rather look into it a little bit more. But they did. It was done in many areas. I mean, I haven't seen it in too many areas, but in some areas, especially in the south of Morocco, it was done. More specifically, I want to speak about the type of schach that was used. I think in previous years we've spoken about what to put the schach on. Seems Rabbi Yosef Misas has a whole teshuvah to allow putting schach directly on metal poles, and that's not a question of ma'amid b'davar mekabel tuma, because he felt that we don't say ma'amid b'davar mekabel tuma. There's a skira in Dat Maran. We spoke about that somewhere else. Exactly how much of an issue it is or not. Tonight, I wanted to speak about a very common issue, which is there any solution on how to cover one's sukkah that is going to help him when it rains? That is going to help him when it rains. And more specifically, I wanted to start off with the following. There are different types of schach on the market nowadays. There is the standard schach, which is the branches. Schach is anything that gadal min haaretz, that grew from the ground, and that was not mikabel tuman. It wasn't yet made into a kli, into a vessel. So let's say you have pieces of wood that are red that you broke off from a bed. You can't use that on a sukkah because it's already mikabel tuma. Correct? That's the laws of schach. So basically, any types of branches that will last are fine. So in Montreal, they would use cedar from the cedar tree branches. In Los Angeles, they would use palm tree branches. In Morocco, mostly they use a lot of palm tree branches. In Tunisia also, they would use palm tree branches, and also hadassim. The Sefer Brit Kehuna brings, they would use hadassim, and they actually brought a source from the Navi by the Ktuvim by Nehemiah in Perikhet. Says that when they came to Yerushalayim, they took hadassim to cover their sukkot. So so definitely palm branches are something ideal to use for schach. There's other types of schach that are used nowadays, which is bamboo sticks, kanim, bamboo sticks. There's also other types of schach that they actually use thin slats of wood, which is in Hebrew they call it pelfonim or belfonim. There's these very thin slats of wood that are bendable, and some of them are made into mats, some of them are not, and people use them as schach. So they didn't use this in Morocco, of course, and people asked, is this kasher in order to make one sukkah? Is it kosher to make one sukkah? Just make sure. Is it kosher to make one sukkah? That's gonna be the question. So obviously, palm tree branches are the most ideal. Obviously, palm tree branches are the most ideal to cover the schach from. The question is the following: in Toronto, it rains a lot during Sukkot. In Montreal as well. In many areas, it rains a lot during Sukkot, and it makes Sukkot sometimes very unpleasant, that one can't sit in the sukkah during much of the Chag. And even on the times where he is able to sit in the sukkah because it's not raining anymore, but you're afraid to decorate the sukkah properly, you're afraid to put in a carpet or heating or anything to make the sukkah more pleasant, and basically you're in and out, and it defeats a lot of times the purpose. The Rambam says that the purpose of Sukkot is that your house should be temporary and the Sukkot should be permanent. And sometimes, you have these chairs that have the padding on them, and you think that they're all dry, and when you sit on them, then you get up, you become wet. So so is there anything to do about the rain in the Sukkah? So you would say, lechaora, no. The question is like this: can one put a lot of schach on one's sukkah in a way that he will not be affected by the rain at all? Can one put a lot of schach on his sukkah in a way that he will not be affected by the rain at all? Puts a lot of coverings on his sukkah that way that the rain will not permeate into the sukkah. That's going to be the question. So the Mishnah says like this in Daf Chav Bet Amud Aleph in Masechet Sukkah, Hame'uveh ke'en bait, a sukkah that is thick, like that the schach is thick like a schach, kshera. It's kasher. So the Gemara in Chav Bet Amud Bet Masechet Sukkah says that even if you can't see the stars, it's kasher. And Bet Shammai says if you can't have any rays of light coming in, it's pasul. And Bet Hillel says it's kasher. So if you have no rays of light coming in, Bet Hillel says it's kasher. The Yerushalmi says nevertheless, lechatechila, one should not sit in a sukkah that you can't see the stars from. That's why everybody's here. See the stars, it's a lechatchila. It's still kasher b'diavad if you can't see the stars, but lechatchila, you should be able to see the stars. That's what's nizak in the Shulchan Aruch. The question is, a lot of times, if you want to put a lot of schach and you won't be able to see the stars, so you'll forego the lechatchila, but at least you'll have a more comfortable sukkah. That's question number one. Number two, who says that it's okay if rain can't come in? Okay, if you can't see the stars, that's one thing, but if rain can't come in, who says that's a sukkah? So the Tur in Siman Tafresh Lamed Aleph brings the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam says that Rabbeinu Tam pasak she'im asa ava ma'od she'en hamatar yachol lered ba pesula. If you made the sukkah so thick, the schach so thick that rain can't penetrate through, it's pasul. Afal gav de Bet Hillel machshirin me'uve kemin bayit. And even though Bet Hillel permits a sukkah that's thick like a house, says the Rabbeinu Tam, haynu davka she'en kochavim v'chaman yirim bitocha. That's only because the stars can be seen. But if rain can penetrate through, pesula afilu lebet Hillel. It's forbidden even according to Bet Hillel. It's forbidden even according to Bet Hillel. This is what the Rabbeinu Tam writes. The Tur says, my father didn't bring his psak down. The question is, do we follow Rabbeinu Tam or not? Maran Shulchan Aruch in Siman Tafresh Amud Aleph just quotes the Mishnah that says, me'uveh ke'en bait shira. If somebody makes it so thick it's kasher, even if you can't see the stars. Lechatchila you should see the stars, but the avad it's still kasher. He doesn't talk about rain or not rain. So the Birkei Yosef, Maran Ahida, the Amamar Mordechai, which is Rab Mordechai Karmi, one of the great Acharonim, they all say that Maran is mashma, that even if rain can't fall in, the sukkah is kshira. The Mishnah Berurah also says that Bidi Avad, he says, the sukkah is kshira if rain can't come in. So Maran seems to say that a sukkah is kasher, even if you put a lot of schach. And furthermore, I want to tell you that it's quoted in the name of Rav Chaim from Volozhin that even if you have a little bit of your sukkah that you could see the stars from, it's okay. So you could just have a little corner where you could see the stars from. The rest of your sukkah, you could put a lot of schach. You're right. You won't be fulfilling Rabbeinu Tam's opinion. But the Birkei Yosef says Maran doesn't hold of that. And you could put as much schach as you want, it would be okay. And you'll be able to sit in your sukkah and you won't be affected by the rain. There's another very interesting question that there was a patent that was invented 15 years ago or something, maybe more. think it was coming from Belgium somewhere, but I'm not sure, about schach that has gaps in between, but rain can't fall into the sukkah. Basically, it worked that you had slats that were next to each other on top, and they were bent into slats on the bottom that served as gutters. So whatever rain fell into the gutters and went outside of the sukkah, and through the cracks you could see the sky fine, but rain can't fall in. And the poskim then discussed at length whether it was kasher or not kasher, whether we hold like Rabbeinu Tam, whether we don't hold like Rabbeinu Tam, whether even according to Rabbeinu Tam, maybe the sukkah is okay. It was a discussion in the poskim, by the poskim. So we'll get to what the answer to that is in a moment. Yeah, the question is we're going to get to that in a moment. But let's first discuss our question. If we put a lot of schach, it's kasher. Now, I want to bring you to another halakha. I want to bring you to the halakha, another halakha, and this halakha is going to discuss making schach out of 2x4 beams. Are you allowed to take 2x4s that you buy in Home Depot and just use them as schach? Or you would say, why not? Why shouldn't? Yeah, people use very, very thin, so why can't you just use 2x4s? The halakha in Siman Tav, it's a sugya in Masechet Sukkah, and the halakha it's nifsak that if it's less than 3 tfachim, it's permitted. If it's less than 3 tfachim, it's permitted. Less than 3 tfachim is, according to the most machmir shita, 24 centimeters. Less than 24 centimeters, it's going to be 2x4s is fine. Fits the bill. So lechaura, is somebody allowed to take 2x4s and use them as chach? There was a Rav in Toronto, his name was Rabbi Price. He used to permit it. Nevertheless, the Shulchan Aruch, interestingly enough, in Siman Tav Resh Chaftet, brings down like this. He says, less than 3 tfachim, the Gemara says it's no problem. However, the Tur brings this samak, and Marana Bet Yosef brings down this as well. Katav, and I'm going to read it from the Tur because I want to read the exact lashon. Katav beSefer HaMitzvot Katan, Mihu Nahagu HaOlam. The custom is shelo lesachech bahem klal, is not to use any slats of wood at all. Why? Mishum dilma ati lesachech bahem bekviyut be'inyan she'en hageshamim yecholin lered ba. Why are you not allowed to use slats? Because we are concerned that maybe you are going to use so many slats and you're going to make it such a strong roof that rain can't penetrate into the roof. That's what Maran says, the minhag. And that's what he brings down the Shulchan Aruch. Now, I'm sure you're asking the contradiction. Maran, according to what the Birkei Yosef said, is not concerned if rain comes into your sukkah or not. He doesn't care if you put so much schach that makes it that the rain is impermeable. So why all of a sudden in Siman Tav Resh Chavtet does he say the minhag is not to use slats because you might make them into a roof which rain can't come into? Why should that be a problem? Maran held that it doesn't matter if rain comes in or not. Even if rain doesn't come in, I don't mind. That's the question. Clear? So the answer that I wanted to suggest, and I found that Maran Agon Rabbi Elyashiv Zecher Tzadik Libracha said something very, very close. And Rabbi Elyashiv says in regards to the question that we spoke about that schach that had the gaps inside, and that rain can't come in, whether that schach is kasher or not. Rabbi Elyashiv has a teshuvah about it, and he says, first of all, if you don't hold like Rabbeinu Tam, it's permitted. Second of all, even according to Rabbeinu Tam was saying that if you make a roof that rain can't come in, it's not dependent if the rain can come in or not. If rain can't come in, it's indicative that it's really a permanent roof. So says Rabbi Elyashiv, if the slats are not a permanent roof, you could see the stars. Even Rabbeinu Tam would hold that's not a problem. Rabbeinu Tam only held if you put so much schach that it became like a roof. But this is not a roof, it's permitted. Similarly, one could say that the Shulchan Aruch held that he doesn't follow Rabbeinu Tam in regards if you put a lot of schach. Because Shulchan Aruch held, this is not exactly what Rabbi Elyashiv is saying in the Rabbeinu Tam, but the Shulchan Aruch held that if you put so much schach, at the end of the day it's schach, it's not a roof. So even if rain can't get in, it's kasher. But if you're going to take slats that people usually make a roof from, and you're going to put them close to each other, that's more like a roof. That's going to be a minhag that you shouldn't do it because you might come to make a roof, and that's going to be a problem. There's other proofs to this. Why the Bet Yosef didn't bring Tosfot and Daf Bet Amud Aleph about this. There's other proofs of this that I'm not going to get into. But if one says such a chiluk, so we come out with the following halakha lema'aseh, that you could put as much schach as you want on your roof, but slats, 2x4s, there's the minhag not to, and for sure you can't put a lot of them that rain can't come in. That's the chashash. That not using one 2x4 because you might use a lot of them. The question is, what about those thin slats, the palfoni? So here the poskim, Maran Rav Ovadia Yosef, Hashem should give him refuah shlema, Tzitz Eliezer, many poskim say that the minhag is to use these slats because the whole chashash is that you might come to put a lot of these slats together and rain can't come in. But these slats are so thin and so flexible that even if you put a lot of them, rain is still going to permeate through. So nobody does roofs with them. So that's how the minhag became to permit them, and it's accepted in Klal Yisrael, the minhag to permit them. Even if you make a mat out of them, as long as the mat was never used to lie down on, or the intention of these mats was not used to lie down on, it's okay. So that's why you shouldn't buy these mats in Home Depot, even though I know they're cheaper, because they were made in order to lie down on. There's a very big question in the poskim. Maybe they're made to be mekabel tumah, right? But if they're made especially for schach, it's okay.
I know someone who buys bamboo mats at the Chinese market.
So you have to know it's not simple. I'm not saying it's totally forbidden, but it's a problem because it could be their mekabel tumah. But if you buy them with a place with a hechsher that was made l'shem schach, that's allowed. They're just like the bamboo mats. The bamboo mats are for sure better because they're round and they're not made to lie down on, right? So that's even better. Okay, but let's say you just want to take the regular stick, like what I remember my father does is that what he did. He bought, one year he bought a lot of these flexible slats and like he wove them together himself. So that's not a problem because that's not made into a cleat. That's not made into a cleat. It was made l'shem schach and it's fine. And rain can come in also. But I'm saying we don't even need to have rain come in. Now the question is, so we came up with the following. If you want to put a lot of schach, you're allowed to. Now, I'll suggest you the following. Even though you don't feel comfortable with this, make half of your sukkah with a lot of schach. That way, when it rains, you're comfortable sitting on that area. You'll still, fine. If it still goes through. But why don't you put more schach? That way, it won't go through as much. That way, you'll be a little bit more comfortable in it. That way you don't have to clean up as much, and that way you'll be more comfortable sitting there. I understand. I'm not saying that you're chayav if rain comes in, but I'm saying it's more. The sukkah will be more pleasant. The sukkah will be more pleasant because it won't be wet every time. It won't be uncomfortable to sit on. It's an etzah. So you want to put a lot of schach. I heard some great rabbanim over here in Toronto.
Why not just put like a tarp when it rains?
You're right. Many people don't do it. It's hard. It's not practical. I'll tell you personally. I tried to do that one year, and the problem is when you have to remove the tarp, all the water that's on the tarp gets into your sukkah. It's just not practical. If you have one of these roll-out tarps in and out, it's good. Otherwise, it wasn't practical for me. I just gave up. To go on the ladder every time. I just gave up. So what I plan on doing is put on more schach than usual. It'll make it easier. Now, even if you do it in a way that rain doesn't come in, it's kosher. You might not be able to do that even, so for sure it's kasher l'chatchila. And you leave one area that you can see the stars, there's no problem, halakha. To use 2x4s, it's a minhag not to, as the Shulchan Aruch writes. And that we said because that you might come to make a real roof, something that looks like a real roof, which is a problem. To use the thin slats, also okay. Now, as I mentioned that I didn't see any Moroccan Muslims speaking about this besides Maran Achida. Maran Achida says that b'di avad it's kosher. Rav Ovadia Yosef also has a tshuva about this. And specifically he doesn't talk about adding on so much schach. He talks about those thin slats, the palfonim. But in it he brings Maran Achida and that the main opinion of Maran Shulchan Aruch is even if rain can't come in, it's going to be kasher. Okay, so that's more or less some of the halachot of schach.
Let's talk waterproofing strategies.